Hello and welcome to the lunch break. My name is Jeremy. I'm a Slack solutions engineer. So yes, I do work for Slack and Salesforce. And I'm here today to take you through some of the basics about Slack. And why is that? Because in the years that I've spent working for Slack and we go and talk to customers about seeing what they're using and what they could be using, the overwhelming majority of what I hear is that there's so much untapped opportunity in how people are using Slack today that I wanted to get people across, help people get across and get comfortable with the absolute fundamentals, the foundations, the basics of Slack, why it's there, what it can do for you so you can unlock all that additional capability thereafter. So therein, today we're going to cover the basics of Slack channels because too many people use direct messages in Slack. And I think that's a symptom of other technologies where direct messaging is like the prime paradigm for communicating with people. Slack is very different to that. It's not necessarily about direct messaging individual targeted people. It's about organizing your conversations and how you operate within your working environment into topics, into categories, into things which many people may be engaged in, and where you might find help from the most unlikely source. So with that, what we're going to cover today is a few key areas. We're going to basically cover what channels are and why they matter and why they're just so much better and more valuable than direct messages. We'll quickly cover creating and naming channels because I want to give a big cause for most of these things. Look, creating a channel is really easy, and that's also creates a bit of a problem because you can name a channel anything you like, but creating a consistent naming pattern is important for discoverability, which is the next thing we'll cover. How to find, browse, discover, search for, and join channels which you may not be a part of, or even channels you already are a part of. We'll look at the core channel features such as threads, messaging, as well as things like mentioning different people and groups and how that is risky. It comes with big impact, so we need to be careful about that. I also want to cover a little bit around the structure of a channel. What actually comprises a channel within Slack? That is topics, descriptions, attachments, and so on. And of course, throughout any of this, please just hit me up with questions in the chat. I'm here to take questions. I want to take your feedback here, incorporate it into what I'm kind of going to be covering so that I'm hitting exactly what you want to see. Now, this is running right now very, very much live. So things very, very likely will go wrong. Bear with me. Okay, this is not my day job. This is me just trying to share what Slack is capable of doing with anyone who's willing to listen. Okay, let's take a look. Of course, no slides. This is no slides, all real product, all live right now. We're going to dive right in. This is Slack. You may have seen it. Hopefully you've seen it before. If not, then welcome to Slack. This is going to change the way you work. The primary focus of everything that involves or happens and operates inside Slack is the channel. So what is a channel? If you think about email, which is how we've communicated for the last 30 plus years, probably 50 years now, my God. Email and your email inbox, we've all got them, is just a stream of messages, a stream of letters. Now, if I look at my inbox in my Gmail, it is just message with no construct of, or no organization around it, unless I really go to town on organizing labels and folders and categories and this kind of thing, which is hard work. And to be honest, personally, I pretty much leave everything in the inbox because I'm chaotic. Now, when we take that kind of paradigm to Slack, we want to shift it because when we think about what am I actually looking for? What am I doing? When I open an email, what am I doing? My brain goes into a topic. It's that topic. It's the content of that message that I want to engage with and either consume or act on and reply to. So Slack takes that concept of topics and turns that into channels. All right, so what we're looking at here is an announcements channel. Let me zoom in a little bit. An announcements channel is just like that. Just like the name implies. It is a channel where everyone can engage. Now, The way you set up your channels could be completely different, but here's a few recommendations. In an organization, it's great to have at least one, maybe more, different announcements channels. This is a place where leadership can share their updates. They can be locked down so that only leadership or certain people can actually post a primary message into those channels. And that allows everyone else to consume that information without being bombarded with another message in your inbox, while also being able to engage and reply and collaborate around that particular announcement. Now, just so we're clear, everything we're seeing on my screen right now is all demonstration data. You may see Salesforce in there, you may see Slack in there. This is all fictitious information. So what actually goes into an announcements channel? How does that work? This is an example of a public channel, right? I mentioned you may have more than one announcements channel for sure. For example, in our context inside Slack, there is a product-based announcements channel. There is an all organization announcements channel, and then there's Slack-based and Salesforce-based and Sales Cloud-based. Every different kind of department has their broadcast or announcements channel. There is also the overarching everyone announcement space, so I can see what's happening across the entire organization. Things like what was announced today around Claudeforce and Salesforce's partnership with Anthropic. This is an example of a public channel. A public channel is, just like the name implies, completely discoverable. Anyone can join it, anyone can participate. You'll see that denoted by the hash symbol in the top left-hand corner. And the fact that you'll be able to discover it and join it, of course. The alternative to that is something like a private channel. A private channel, as denoted by the padlock icon, just like the name implies, is private. Only accessible through invitation by some existing member inviting and adding you into that channel. Why are channels better than direct messages though? Channels are way better than direct messages because when I have a conversation, when I direct message someone, only myself and that person or that small number of people that I message can actually engage with that content. Only these small group of people can see that content, engage with it. That means that anyone else who's trying to discuss or find information about that same topic we're discussing can't, because private messages, direct messages, you might hear them being referred to as DMs or MPDMs, which is a multi-party direct message, are locked down to be visible and accessible only by the people in that conversation, which is great by design. Channels flip the script a little bit because instead of organizing around people, we're organizing, like I mentioned, around these topics, around these conversations. So if I jump back to my announcement space, it doesn't make any sense at all for this kind of thing to be a direct message. Because here we're trying to hit, as you'll see in the top right-hand corner, there are 284 different people inside this conversation. As a direct message, that just would break down. Secondly, direct messages will notify you on every time someone sends a message in that space. So if there are, let's say, 3 or 4 different people in that little group conversation, anytime anyone messages anything in that space, you'll get notification. Now, one of the things I hear people tell me quite often about Slack is it's noisy, it's overwhelming, there's too much going on. That's because people are living too much inside direct messages. With channels, that goes away. You can control to a much greater degree what message types, what kind of things are going to notify you and ask for your attention. Because that's really what it's all about. Where do you want to spend your focus right now? All right, let's dive into this particular channel again. In this space, talking about closing out Q3, fantastic. As I mentioned before, maybe Nigel here is one of these people that can only message in this channel. What that actually enables though is these threaded replies. Now this is accessible and available in every message surface across Slack, right? Everywhere there's a conversation, you'll be able to have a thread. Threads are critical to helping you organize your work, organize your conversations. Because what threads do is take the conversation that's happening in the main view and spins a thread off, as the name implies. Which means that if I want to ask Nigel a question or engage in the conversation about this particular thing, I can do that without cluttering up or making noise within the main conversation view. Threads are a drastically underutilized and underappreciated feature and capability of Slack. You want to create a new thread or reply to a message in a channel? It's easy. You hover on it and hit reply to thread. That opens up this side view here, takes you to the conversation that's happening about this message. We can see Sally replying here. We can see Carl chiming in. Julie's replying as well, sharing links and so on. Michelle, Debbie, everyone's chiming in and collaborating, which means I can come down to the bottom here and say something like, Eli, that's a great idea. I think that's a great thing to add. Let's talk to Workday about that. Right, so we can add that message in, reply. Great. I'm not cluttering up the main message view. I'm keeping that conversation in its thread, in its pocket. Why else is this important when we talk about things like notifications and the amazing amount of alerts you may receive in Slack? Well, instead of operating in DMs where everything is a message, whether you care about, everything is a notification, whether you care about it or not, in threads, then I will get notified because I'm already engaged in that side conversation. I want to know what's happening, so it'll automatically notify you. Now, whereas I can control my notification preferences inside the channel space a little differently. I will cover that in just a minute. No, in fact, let's just cover it now. Managing notification preferences. You can set this as a default on your user profile. On preferences, notifications, here it is here. What to notify you about. You can actually control notifications differently based on whether you want notifications on desktop or your mobile phone. Now, in what you're seeing here is you're not seeing that at all. In fact, I'm showing the wrong screen. You're not seeing what I'm seeing. There we go. I'm not going to go back to what I went through, but here we go. I told you there'd be hiccups along the way. Okay, so this is a notification settings. I'll show you how I got into that again. Click on your profile picture, go to preferences, and then notifications. This is your default. So by default, what do you want to get notified about? If I leave that as everything, then every new message for every channel that I'm involved in or a part of, I'll get notified about. Now, for my demo environment, that's fine, that's great. For your world, how you use Slack, change it immediately. Change it to mentions and direct messages. This means that when people actually chime in and post messages in a channel, you're not going to get an alert asking for your attention straight away because you're already focused on something else. You're already focused on your work. So when we set this to notifications and direct messages, that means by default from that point out, any new channel I join will have that setting. You can change it per channel. So for example, if I want to make sure I'm across every different announcement that comes out, or let's make this a bit more of a slightly real example, in my project channel for ops and automation, I want to make sure I'm actually notified for everything here. So you'll see it actually says just mentions. No. In this case, I don't care if this is directed at me or not me. I want to get that notification. So this time I'll change it to all new posts. You can also see there this mute and hide option. This is saying that don't notify me and don't even show me there's new content in this channel unless someone explicitly calls me out by name. Right? This is great for those channels which are lower priority. You want to ignore them for the most part, but only if something drags you back in, then let you know about it. There's a few other options as well. This is a newer part of Slack. Pardon me 1 second. That lets you mute channels for a short period of time. Okay, I'm going to leave this one on just mention. No, sorry, what did we say? All new messages for this one because this is about my project. Okay, let's create a new channel from scratch. There are a few different ways to create a new channel. We could just go create, new channel, dead easy. Yeah, we give a channel a name and off we go. In fact, Slack comes with a few suggested channel naming patterns, whether it's a help channel, a project channel, a team channel, you name it, and so on and so forth. You can obviously configure what these standardized channel naming patterns are. So if you needed, for example, we have one down here, let me get out of this, in our social section for ERG, employee resource groups. You might have social also as a prefix to channel names. ENG for engineering channels, and so on and so forth. You can create whatever type of naming patterns you wish. It is kind of, I think, fairly important to make sure that those naming patterns are respected. They're not enforced when someone creates a channel, they are suggested, which means I've still got the flexibility to create a channel called whatever I want, right? But it's kind of guiding me through. If I need to create a team-based channel, then hey, use the team prefix. The other way to create a channel is through a template. Have I gone to the right place? Probably not. We'll come back to that later once I relocate where that button has gone. So let's continue with using new channel. Okay, now we can create a channel for whatever we like. I'm going to create a new project channel where we're going to talk about building this session today. All right. I'm calling this whole series of things a lunch break. It runs during a lunch hour. Come and hang out with us, learn a thing or two, and chime in with any questions. The chat is there and waiting. So let's call this project a lunch break. Doesn't matter what you put in here. If you try and type it with capitals or spaces, it'll convert it to lowercases and dashes to keep that kind of consistent naming convention for standard channels in Slack. All right, what's next? We now have the option to make this a public channel or private channel. This is going to be public because while this is going to be a channel which I want my project to work in, my project team to work in, I don't want this to be super exclusive, i.e. if there are other people in your organization who might benefit from some of the content in here, then why not make it open to them? Slack is all about working in the open, creating that transparency, opening up the doors across the organization to increase that shared knowledge. Next thing it wants us to do is to bring some people into here because the conversation is better when it's with other people. Let's bring Valerie in. Let's bring Amy in. And let's bring Sam in. It's a public channel, but I've automatically added, I've manually added these people into the channel. They'll get notifications saying that I, Jeremy, have invited them to the project, the lunch break channel. Clean slate, empty channel. Let's build it. All right, so if we build a new notification, a new message in this channel now, it's very straightforward, but now we have some extra formatting around that as well. So let me just dictate a quick message here. Welcome to the lunch break channel. In this channel here, we're going to organize different sessions to run on YouTube as educational series for how people can get more out of Slack. All right, we have our first message in the channel. That easy, right? Now, there's a few different things I want to do with this. I can right-click this and say, pin to channel. What does this do? This highlights this message as fairly important, and you might have noticed a new tab appear across the top pins. As conversations flow quite quickly, it can you'll see important things pop up. You think that's important. Let's pin that to the channel so that anyone who comes back here can see that at a glance. Okay. Obviously, we mentioned before, we can straight up hit reply in thread, which lets us have a side conversation here. That's great, looking forward to it, and clearly I'm talking to myself. And you'll see how that shows up as a threaded reply within the channel. Now, what else can we do here? Now that we've got this channel created, We have to organize it. Otherwise, you may end up, I'm sure there's some of you who may end up watching this, who have within their sidebar in Slack just dozens and dozens of channels, DMs, notifications, and just a flood of things which are very hard to try and quickly comprehend. You can see in my sidebar here, I've organized this by sections. Headings. This is my group of announcements channels. These are all sales and deal related channels. This is internal help channels, so I can know where to go for what. Now this is completely configurable for every person. You can change what this is, you can change what these sections are very, very easily, and it's strongly encouraged. I can't stress this enough. Please go ahead and create some sections, organize your sidebar today, and organize it next week, and organize it the week after that. Never stop organizing your sidebar. The more clarity you can create around that sidebar and your list of channels and sections, the faster you'll be able to navigate to where you need to work next. Where is that next thing I need to action? All right, so I've created a new channel for Project The Lunch Break. That appears now in my channels section. This is the default section. This is where it lists all the different channels that are not in a section. All right, let's create a new section for that specific channel. I can right click on this project itself, on the channel name itself. I'm going to move this and create a new section. Easy. Let's call this projects. And you can even create, select nice fun emoji to highlight that. You'll be able to determine how channels within that section are organized based on your own working preference, whether it's just alphabetically, recency, or using some machine learning to determine the priority of channels that you're working in. Next step, it says, well, are there any other channels that maybe belong in this space or not? So you can move channels or add new channels into, or add existing channels into that section. Let's do that. Let's skip it. There we have it. A new section, our channel we just created inside that section, right at the top of our sidebar. Do I want it right at the top? Probably not. I want to keep announcements at the top because that's kind of the key thing that's important to me. So I'm just going to drag this whole section down to where I want it to go. Done. All right, what's next? We've created a channel. We've created a section for it so it shows up in where I want it in my sidebar. What if we need to actually convert this channel to being private or turn a private channel into a public channel? You can do that. In fact, you can turn a direct message you're having with someone, once that sort of gets a bit of traction, if it does, if you're using direct messages in that regard, into a channel so that more people can join and that conversation becomes more transparent. Converting a channel from public to private, very straightforward. Once you click on the channel name, you've got a bunch of settings you can muck around with. Down the bottom here, you'll be able to change that to a private channel. That means anyone who's already a member of that channel will retain access to it. If you remove anyone out of that channel after that, they can't get back in unless they're invited again, like normal. If it is private, you have the option to convert it to a public channel, bidirectional. Here's an interesting one, archiving a channel. If a channel's created, these channels don't need to be persistent forever. They may be very transient, and you'll end up probably with dozens, hundreds, dare I say, maybe even thousands of channels within your Slack workspace. And these channels aren't all always going to be relevant to the point in time you're in. So for example, if we were to finish up with this project, the lunch break, and think, okay, we're done with this, we don't want really this to form part of our normal working environment, we can archive that channel. So I'm just going to do that now. When we archive that channel, you'll see it immediately just disappeared out of my view. It kind of like hides it out of the way and archives it in a box around the corner. Doesn't delete it. Everything that's within that channel is still searchable, usable, but what it does do is move it out the way. So let's go back and find that channel now, if I can. There's my channel. I took it out of my section and moved it back into the channel's default list. What's different about this channel now? You can see that it's actually sent a message automatically saying that I archived the channel. Everything's still browsable, available in search, and I can also unarchive that channel at any time or close it. That just closes it and moves me back to my previous thing I was looking at. So let's now just unarchive that. Again, click on the channel name, across to settings, unarchive that channel. And we're back. Just move this channel now back to where I wanted it. Just by to move the channel, I'm going to click on the star. There's a few different ways you can do this. I'm going to click on the star and actually move this to projects. Okay, now we're back in the state we were before. But everything that's happened around the structure of this channel is captured so we can see who's doing what, where, and when. Okay. So that's creating, joining, organizing channels. What about discoverability? Because there's going to be a whole heap of channels out there which you probably don't even know exist and may never even need to know they exist. What does that look like to find them? So there's a few different ways you can discover different channels. One of those is to head to the directory. The directory gives you access to a list of people in your organization, user groups, org chart, external folks, but also channels. Now I see a list of all the channels which are either I'm already a member of or they're public. Like I said before, anything which is a private channel, which I'm not a member of, I won't see. I won't have any access to. You'll see here in this list of channels, it gives us indication whether I've joined them or not. Now in this particular demonstration environment, of course, I'm a member of all the channels, which is great. But you'll be able to search for, find any channel type you want. So if I need to find, what was that? What's that? Is that Telstra channel somewhere? Yes, I can search for Telstra. Yeah, not Tesla. Telstra. Now find me all the channels with something about Telstra. What's interesting here? You'll see that these 3 different channels have the word Telstra in the name of the channel, but this one doesn't. This one has some funny number, and Telstra is actually in the details of the channel, which brings up an interesting point. What are the details of the channel? And you can already see, hopefully, how those details are important, how they're useful for discoverability. Let's go back to our lunch break project. In this channel, right, when you create a channel, you've got a few different options. I want to add channel description. Actually, no, let's not do that. Or I can click on the name of the channel, and here we get a few options. Like I mentioned, we've already had a look at the settings tab over here. On the About tab, we've got 2 key fields, a topic and a description. Why are these important? The description kind of in 1 or 2 sentences describes what is the purpose of this channel. Who's it for? How's it best used? So let's fill that in. Forgive me while I dictate this. Help collaborate on the plan for the lunch break content schedule and what it looks like to help share the word on the lunch break. Okay. Now, anyone who looks at this channel can see that description and understand, is this channel for me? Yeah, sure, I want to join it. Or maybe it's not. The topic itself is like, what is the current thing we're talking about right now? This is really useful and another underutilized capability of Slack. Because this says, well, in this example, in this project channel, maybe we're looking at the current topic is the Slack channel basics conversation. And then once this is done, we'll create a new topic for whatever the next one is. It kind of puts a break between each different thing that's being discussed between a certain point in time and another point in time. So let's create this topic. Demonstrating topics for the lunch break stream as part of session 1, channel basics. Okay, now when we close that, you'll see that we get a timestamped message that says when the channel topic was set. Right, now people know, okay, this from this point in time, we're talking about something else. So we can add more content. Oh my God. Do some things there, and then maybe we want to change the topic at a certain point in time. Now, we don't always have to go back into the channel details and click into topic and change it there. You absolutely can. Or you can actually change it in the flow of what you're already doing. Right? Slash commands are really useful. This was part of the foundations of Slack from way back when. And this gives us access to a lot of different tools we can use within Slack, which may be part of Slack natively or part of a capability added through an integration, an app installation, or a workflow that's been configured through Slack. Now, for me, I actually know what this is. I'm going to write slash topic. And you'll see as you type, it refines what you're looking at. So I want to go slash topic. When I hit enter, it opens up that modal with the current topic already there. There is another way. I just hit slash topic. This is the new topic. That's it. Okay, one quick comment, and that changed the topic about what we're talking about in this channel right now. Awesome. Okay, what's next? How do we bring attention to the right message from the right people at the right point in time in a conversation? This is around mentioning. This is a risky and often hotly debated kind of topic we're going to cover now. You'll see in the left-hand sidebar here, I'm going to get out of this thing because that's too much of my head. Under announcements, this is a bold channel. What does this mean? This means there are new messages in this channel which I haven't seen yet, right? But are not calling me out specifically. Other channels here that are not bolded, there's no new content in there for me to focus on. So unless I have a topic or that topic I want to go and dive into and participate in and contribute to, I don't need to action that. And these announcements, this bold channel, there's new content in there. Maybe I want to go and check out what that is, or I can loot out later. What's interesting here is how we draw people's specific people's attention to messages and activity within a channel. All right, so let's do this. 3 different ways you can do that. An increasing amount of annoyance to everybody else. The first one is the @mention. You'll see @mentions is everywhere. Please use them freely. If we @mention someone, right, we get this little indication that we're mentioning a specific user. Now, if I need to get Sam's attention on something, like how I should be able to spell without looking, that would send a notification to Sam, depending on, remember what we looked at before, what Sam has set as her notification preferences. Remember we said this should be the default for most cases, which means she would not get notified on everything else that's happening in this channel, but she would get notified when she's specifically mentioned within the channel. I'm going to do that for myself here so we can demonstrate the point. Now I'm going to mark this as unread. Some people like to use the mark as unread feature to be able to say, I've got to come back to that later, in which case it'll mark this channel as bold. You can do it if you like. If you could also say, for example, I want to mark this channel as unread from this point in time. So everything else under that is considered unread. I've just discovered I can't mention myself and go to notifications. That's okay. What you would see here in this space is an indication that a new message you've been called out on a new message. All right, so when you see all the different numbered icons in your sidebar, that's what that's signifying. Okay, that there is new unread content which is specifically asking for you or a group. Because there's 3 other ways you can mention different groups of people. One is a user group. Now, I'm not going to dive into user groups too much, but user groups are, as the name implies, a group of users. So when I mention a user group, just like I would any other user, that's actually going to send a message to everyone who's a member of that user group, not a message, a notification, and draw their attention into the channel where you're asking for their attention. The next one I want to talk about is the @here mention. All right. This is saying, well, I want to notify everyone who's online right now about this message and who's also a member of this channel. Right. So we're saying, okay, @here. That will send a message to the 3 other people in this channel, Valerie, Sam, and Amy, if they were online. This is pretty useful because if we're working across time zones or people aren't always locked in on what they're doing in Slack, don't annoy them. Don't force notifications to hit their phone or their desktop when they're not in the right context for that work. The @here mention says, I need extra eyeballs on this, extra people looking at it, but really only go and hit people which are already working on Slack right now anyway. And the last option, there's 2 more. The next option is @channel. This takes the same concept as @here, but chucks the concept of who's actually online out the window, and this would send a notification to everyone inside this channel. This thing will annoy people. Even @here will annoy people. Use it sparingly and only in small channels, please. You don't want to be that person in a channel of 30 plus people that continues to use @here or @channel, because when people see a notification in Slack that has the like the little red, there is new content here for you, that's going to be triggered by one of these @here or @channels. It will drag them into that channel. It'll break their focus, whatever they're working on right now. Yes, you'll get their attention, but unless your content you're sending is relevant to them and their role and what they can do for you, it's going to be noise and it's going to be annoying. @channel will also send a message in real time to everyone inside that channel, regardless of time zones. Okay, so typically Slack will respect your time zones. You can set working hours. Let's have a quick look at that so you know where to do it. Within your user, then click preferences. You can set allow notifications during certain times. This says only notify me, only allow notifications to be sent to me during working hours on weekdays. If you use an @channel, it should override that. Right? Regardless of time zone, people are going to get pinged. Bad idea. I could be wrong on that. Actually, I might have just made a bit of a faux pas. Anyway, regardless, avoid using @channels at all costs. They're bad juju. Some users within your Slack environment will have access to an @everyone handle, which will notify absolutely everyone. I think only administrators and org owners have access to that. You won't have to worry about it because that will annoy not just people in a channel, it'll annoy the whole company. That's kind of like if something is seriously going down, then use it. Otherwise, absolutely avoid that one. Okay, we're covering a lot of ground here, so please let me know what you want to see next. I've got more content to show. Right? We've talked about threading, channel creation, message content structures, changing public to private channels. Let's talk about converting a direct message into that channel and why you want to do so. You saw before, actually, let's have a look at our other option here. In this Ops and Automation project channel, there are 29 members. When you create a DM, if I go ahead and create a new DM, let's message Sam. Let's message, no, that will do. Okay, this is a private conversation between me and Sam, which is, look, I'm not saying DMs are useless, they're fine. If I want to go and ask Sam, hey, do you want to grab some lunch after this meeting, then great, fine, go for it. If it's something about a topic which exists inside Slack already, you should use that channel or create a channel for it to increase that transparency. The other limitation with DMs here is that I can only have up to 9 people in a DM. Why 9? Not sure. It's a magic number. And once you do that, if I start to add in more people, oops. Oh, she's already there. Alex, Amy, Daniel. You see it says DMs can have up to 9 people including you. So we're at 8 right now. That's it. I'm tapped out. The next thing we want to do all right, so we have our new multi-party DM. We have a conversation with 9 people where no matter what we send in here, they're going to get notified. They're potentially going to get annoyed. And it's like, why are we having this MPDM if there's already a channel where this topic is being discussed? If there isn't, create a new channel. If it's a separate topic or a subtopic of a different channel, create a new channel and link the two together. We want to avoid MPDMs and DMs for content and conversation which relates to topics which should be made more transparent. Right, so let's imagine we have this conversation, we have this MPDM, and it is rich with information about a topic that's potentially turning into a new project or a new initiative. How do we take this? And maybe we'll need to add more people into the mix or even start to include apps and workflows into this process. That's another limitation of using direct messages. Okay. Again, click on the name of the conversation. You'll see here it says Alex, Amy, and 6 others. I could change that name if I wanted to. All right, so in this case, I'm changing the name of the conversation to change this, whatever. You might want to say this is just the lunch crew. And you don't need to have a conversation in a channel where you're trying to organize who wants to go out for lunch. That's fine. Happy days. But if this is something a bit more critical, it doesn't make sense to have the marketing team's conversation exist just in direct messages. So let's convert this to a channel. Click on the name or the group of names that are up there. Settings. Change to private channel. Because DMs are inherently a private thing between 1 or up to 8 other people, you'll only be able to convert this initially into a private channel. Let's convert that. Give it a name. Note that once we change a private message into a channel, you can't go back. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Roll with it. Slack is meant to be work in the open. Change to private channel. Done. We've taken all the people that were inside that conversation before, created a channel, added them in. In fact, you'll see that all the previous interaction history is brought along with that migration into a channel. So you're not missing anything. You're only gaining additional capability. Now, people will be able to control what their notification settings are. I don't need to know everything going on in this DM or this channel now. Just let me know if someone calls out me specifically. I can set topics and descriptions and add extra things to spice up this conversation, automations, workflows, apps, and agents. Now that we've created this as a private channel, I could go an extra step and convert this to a public channel if I needed to. Again, settings, down, convert to a public channel. It just operates exactly the same as a regular channel from that point out. Now we have this channel. How are other people going to know about it or know what to do with it? Now we talked about using descriptions and topics, and they are key. What we also be able to do is create a canvas. A canvas is something like a document which sits inside Slack, and they can be attached to channels. I find this personally really valuable, especially when I'm hunting around for an internal product-based or feature-based channel. First thing I look at, apart from the description and the topic, what they're talking about right now, is what's the canvas telling me? And these things will often say what this project is all about, or this channel is all about, who the key people are, how to get help from people in this channel, what's the process to engage, because different teams and different channels can operate differently. For example, if there is a product development team working on a particular product in a feature dev channel, and I, as a solution engineer, want to go and find something out, I probably wouldn't just jump straight into that channel and start asking questions, because they've got their workflow and their processes already defined in that. And if I jump in there and start asking questions without understanding how it works first, it could disrupt their workflow. So instead, I jump into the canvas. Let's find a channel which already has one of these built out. Here we go. Oh, that's a hectic channel. Let's find this one instead. The charity projects channel. This is an example of a social-based channel. So we're not talking about getting work done, but we're talking about connecting people together. So this is a social channel. And here you'll see I've got the messages tab where the conversation takes place. I have my replies. We also have a canvas attached here. This canvas is a very free-form editable document, which means that anyone can see what this particular channel is all about. I can see what the current projects are for this channel, what initiatives they're involved in, who the key contacts are for this charity projects. Let's just organize that a little better. And this is a more persistent type surface, these canvas documents, that exists in its current state for all users. Whereas the message stream is transient, it flows quite quickly, and typically your attention is drawn to the most recent conversation. The canvas is a bit more static, which means it's a really good way to kind of demonstrate what is the right way to engage with this channel. What am I going to get out of this channel? Here we go. Things like how to get involved in extra charity work. How do we track our impact and how we're working towards supporting these different charities, and so on and so forth. So I would always come in to have a look at the canvas that's directly attached to a channel, as well as the channel details, before actually chiming in and starting creating any more noise in that space. I realize I've been rambling for close to 50 minutes. So honestly, I've only just scratched the surface of what we can do with channels and so on. I'm going to start to wrap it up though, because I could go on for a very long time, but I realized we can take these concepts and take these different sessions on all sorts of different paths in the future. We've covered a lot today. We've covered things around what are channels and why they're in most cases better than the direct message. We've looked at creating channels, creating naming conventions for channels, and organizing them into your sidebar. We've looked at how we can find new channels to join, discover them through the directories, or actually, before I forget, the other way you can do that is by searching for things in the global search. Command K or Control K from Windows should be your best friend inside Slack, and I can search for anything. So even if I search for our example before, we searched for Telstra, you can see it's listing a bunch of things here, which I might want to quickly jump into. If I want to search for something, let's just search for Telstra again. Now run that search. You can see down the left-hand side all the different places where I'm getting results from. One of those is channels. Same kind of result as we saw in the directories. Directory is great for browsing and trying to see what's there. If you know something exists, search for it. Command K quickly jumps between things. The other lesser known little trick here is Command G is a global search. So whereas Command K is like the quick switch to other objects and things within Slack, channels or documents and so on, Command G will use a search by default. Sorry, that was my little last tip at the end there. Oh, you know what? I forgot to show you my screen again. Command K opens up, like I said, if we search for Telstra, it shows us matching objects we already have access to within Slack. But if I go and use Command G and search for Telstra, you'll see I get an option to actually search. It should give me search results instead. Like I said, this is that space. If I could actually search with correct spelling. This is where we see what channels match my search criteria. Okay. So we now have covered finding channels in a few different ways as well. We looked at what are the core ways to draw attention to a channel. Either it's just new messages popping in there, pinning messages for ease of access, but also using the @mention options within a channel or a message to @mention people in the channel that are online, and also @mention anyone that's a member of that channel. Just be very, very careful using that. depending on the size of your business you're in, that could annoy people quickly. And then we also looked at things like converting channels from direct messages to private channels to public channels, and we could also go back to private channels. We also looked at archiving channels, because channels can be transient. They can be like just put in the box in the back in the garage and left to exist, but you know there's stuff in there if you want to go find it. So look, that's me. That's what we've covered. That's channel basics in Slack. There's a ton more stuff we're going to cover in the future. But by all means, if there are any questions you think about between now and next time, let me know. You'll be able to find me on all sorts of different places. I'm on LinkedIn. Just search for Jeremy Roberts Australia. Obviously, you've got YouTube here. Drop me a message here. And you'll probably also find us on Discord, but I've got to put the link up somewhere. In fact, if you hang around, you'll see it at the end of our show here. Join us. Let me know what you think. This is the first time I'm running something like this. Keen to get your thoughts, whether it's now, later, in the future. See you then. Let me know what you think in the comments, or wherever you want to post my message to. Let me know if you found this useful, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for your time.